Hello. Think we are working. Looks like things are moving. Okay.
Think we are.
Uh, hello. This is kind of an experiment, and I think you'll enjoy it if you stick around. Check it out. I'm doing an actual play using the solo play rules of the upcoming Highcaster game, and so this is the first part of a multi-part series, and I will be playing just with you all, and that's it. So trying to do this live, I've had mixed experiences with live, so we'll see how this works. But you are welcome to chat. I'm going to try to bring it up on Facebook here.
We are working.
Let's see, I have too many things going on at once. Let's see if I can see. This makes great television. But anyway, I'm going to try to figure out how I can best communicate with you live, and hopefully this will work well. So the idea here is to run an entire campaign using a singular character and a singular player, and just use storytelling mechanics to do so, and do it in the Highcaster world. So I hope you enjoy this. This is session 0, so I'm going to spend this time building the character, kind of creating the scenario, and then testing out the technology, so that session 1, when we pick up with the actual game, it'll be buttoned up, everything will be ready to go. I'm looking to create a storytelling experience, so this is meant to be taken pretty seriously. Well, I mean, I don't know if the story's going to be serious or not, but I intend to do this as I would an actual play with other players. So hopefully this is something that'll work out. Don't know until you try, right? So we're going to start by making a character. You can see on the screen here, I have a dice tray here, which will be used in the session. This is from, I've plugged them before, but owlbear.rodeo, or if you're from LA, Owlbear Rodeo. And we're going to use this for our dice tray, which is cool. So the other thing I have here is the rule book. This is the final manuscript. It hasn't been edited yet, so when the edits come in, it'll be updated. But when you're watching this video, you'll be seeing the manuscript as it stands, probably before most everybody else has seen it. So that's cool. I also have a character keeper that I'm using, which, if you don't know what a keeper is, this is really just a Google Sheets that has all of the character and game information and rules in it. And this is designed for online play. And I actually just finished this today, so I'm going to take the keeper for a test drive, and we'll make our character here. Now, I already know the character I'm going to use. This is someone that's appeared in the Gallant Knight actual play, if you have seen that. And he also appears in the game as the primary chronicler who provides the cool quotes at the beginning of chapters. So this character is actually kind of an old character of mine that I've used in the past, different games and systems, but he has finally been canonized in Highcaster as the primary chronicler from Hydoni, and that is Julius Lorato. So I thought it would be fun to do a campaign about Julius and just see, because we've already used him in several actual play examples. Like I've used him as in other videos about showing how the game works. I've used him in blogs, and I've used him in the game. So it'd be fun to actually bring this character to life as a player. So I'm going to do that. We'll use Julius. So why don't we go ahead and just start jumping in here. I'm going to start by naming me, him, and then I'm going to name my character. I already know who he is, Julius Lorato, he, him. Since beginning of the first session, I will start with one favor, because you always start off with one favor. Heritage, I'm going to make Julius a mortal, not immortal. And we already know that he is a Scoppler. Scopplers are Highcaster bards. I don't think I'm going to use Julius in the truest sense of a scoffler. It's just that's the closest thing he has. I don't think he's actually a hero. He really just is a chronicler in a lot of sticky situations. So we'll see how that plays out. I already kind of have a look for him, which is that he is he dresses well, is always seen with quills and parchment. And we'll kind of get into some more details there. But why don't we go into the game and actually look at the rules, what we need to do for character creation. Oh, so yeah, see here's this intro is by Julius Lorato. So this first section really just gives you a summary of the game, and then it goes into the realm, which describes all of the different cultures. I will stop at Hydoni because Julius is from the Hydoni culture. So these are the Darawish. There's a really great in the Gallant Knight game called the Oath Star. We actually have 2 more episodes left. There's a really great couple of sessions all about the Darawish, and it's a really cool culture. And they play a big part in the game that we are playing. So that was kind of a fun introduction. Now, we haven't really dealt with the Hydoni much in actual plays, except kind of usually the bad guys, because they tend to be Imperial. The Hydoni came from, just to backpedal a bit, they came from the original Highcaster Empire, which was the continental empire that ran everything before the gods fell to the earth and destroyed everybody. So they were the old empire. And the Hydoni kind of persisted since the fall of the empire back in their home city, Haydn. And that city is a huge metropolis, walled city against the foothills of Wormspine, which are the massive mountains that divide the continent in two. And they are they're really the imperial remnants. They're the leftover society from the empire, and they kept a lot of the traditions and culture of the old empire, and they've persisted through the ages for many hundreds of years, still calling themselves an empire, even though they really just have one city and maybe a few hamlets and villages. And that's the culture that he's in. So he's using a lot of the old ways of thinking. This is a quote about the Hydoni from a Stairborn. He says, "The people of Haydn never, for even a moment, considered they were not the very same Highcaster that was destroyed hundreds of years ago. For that we owe them both admiration and disdain for the immensity of their perceived self-importance." Really good quote that captures Hydoni and all of the problems with Hydoni. I tend to use them as bad guys, but they don't have to be. They are, they're doing what they think is right, and they believe they're perpetuating their lineage, their cultural lineage. And so, they do think they're all that, and then some, but they really aren't. The interesting thing about Haydn is that it is controlled and led by a dragon. This is one of the few dragons that are named in Highcaster, and that is because she is the Hydoni queen, or empress rather. And so that's kind of a cool thing. They are the name of the dragon is Mystera, and she is in charge of Haydn, and then Hydoni. So the a couple of interesting notes about Hydoni. They have no official religion, but most of the people are what are called Sternun. And Sternun is a term that describes those who know the stars, and that is kind of the old high speak derivative of that meaning. And they know the stars. In other words, they remember them. They remember the gods, and so they worship the memory of the gods, but they do not believe that the gods are alive. And this is in contrast to the Congregational Church of the Stars, who are all called the Stairgress, who believe that the gods did not die, and in fact, they have just removed themselves from the world in order to test the mortals. And that is really kind of two different religions in Haydn, I should say. The Hydoni live in Haydn. But they are, and they are often at odds with one another. but if you are religious, you're probably going to follow one of those two paths. The economy is imperial, so you have to um, basically you have to be in service to the army of the empire, and then you are paid for service. Otherwise, it's mostly free market. So that's it. I mean, this really is derived from Byzantine, if you know history, Earth history, and the idea that the Romans would have persisted long after the quote unquote fall of Rome. That is kind of what the Hydoni are like, and they are very indignant to those who do not consider them the actual empire. All right, so given all of that, let's see, Julius Lorado gets two languages. He is literate in high speak, so he can speak it and read it, and one other language. And he can also speak an additional language to that. Now, this is kind of unique in Highcaster. Not many cultures give you three languages. You basically are usually literate in one, and you can speak another. But if you're playing a Hydoni, because you have much more at your disposal in terms of texts and culture, you can actually speak one, and you can be literate in two. So we're going to go back here to the keeper. I think, well, I'm going to put down for languages. We'll put down I speak. There's the Hydoni language. I'm going to put down Rishan. And if you know Highcaster enough, you'll probably usually pick Rishan because that is the language of the merchant folk. And they have connected many of the societies that are coming back into fruition following the apocalypse, and they are connecting societies through trade routes. And so Rishan is a really good one to know. Most people who are learned would probably know Rishan and read it and be literate in it because they can communicate with the money, and that's really important, obviously. So now I kind of need what would be the language in which that he would be that he would know but he can't read or write. In my headcanon, we have pretty far removed from Highcaster or from Haydn would be the Stairborn, and they are deep in the forest, far removed. So I don't think it would be them. There is a possibility that he would know the Whitlander language because the Whitlanders are, really kind of cross the plains, and it's conceivable that he would know them. And it's conceivable he would know the Wormguard because they're in the mountains behind Haydn. Now, Julius has appeared in games before, and you may not know this, but I am actually building canon for Highcaster through all of these actual plays. So these are consistent in all of the worlds that I'm building. The world is consistent in all of the games that I'm playing and running. So because of that, I actually introduced a truth already in the Gallant Knight game, because Julius is in that game and he is able to speak with the player characters in that game, and that is because he can speak the Whitlander language. They are Whitlanders. So I'm going to have to pick that because it's already canon. I'm going to skip ahead to the Whitlanders so we can see what the language is there. I forget exactly what it's called. Passing all of these different cultures. I think these are the Whitlanders. The Whitlanders language they speak. Oh, okay. No, that's clear enough. Okay, so he can. Let me qualify this. He is literate. Let me in. Literate in high speak and Rishan, and let's try the mouse. And he can speak Whitlander. Okay, done. I'm gonna reformat that. It bothers me. It should be centered. Okay, done. So that is his language. Now, I'm going to go back to the Hydoni culture. all the way back, all the way back. There they are. You can tell because they have plumes on their hats. Right. So he has a language. Okay, cultural talents. Native of Waste March. The Waste March is the flatlands and the grasslands in between Haydn and the Whitlands. Actually, they go all the way back. So he could be very familiar with that area, that region. Mounted warriors. That means he would get a talent die when confronting threats on a mount. I can't imagine that Julius would be on a mount confronting threats, so that's out. Shield warrior. Not really a shield type, so that means he will have native of Waste March. So we will. I have chosen these. So now when you choose these in my handy little keeper, you can choose the talent. And I'm just going to choose native of Waste March of the okay. I think I put the wrong culture in here. Yes. We change the culture to Haydoni. And then so the native of Waste March. There we go. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing. Let's see. All right. I think I am. So, cool. We have a cultural talent. Now I want you to choose a trade. Now this is going to be pretty easy because I already have a picture in my head. I know he's of the upper echelons of society. He's a chronicler. He's very well respected. He's quoted all the time. He's used as an ambassador. He was cast out, according to canon, that happened in the other game. He was cast out of Haydn because of a spat between him and another chronicler that ended with him burning down that chronicler's library. So anyway, that means he's a noble. That's just who he is. So we'll use that as our trade. Obviously, when you're playing this game, you will make other decisions based on your own concept. Okay, cool. So we have our culture. Culture is done. All right. Some information about the Haydoni region if we get involved in here. We have the Wormspine Hills, which is where Haydn is located, the Waste March, the region in between Haydn and the Whitlands, and then there's surrounding wilderness. There's a handy little Haydoni name table, but we don't need that. We already know our name. So let's move past culture. Culture is done. We are cultured. Look at all these cultures. I'll give you so many cultures. Okay, now we're in the next section, heritage. Now he's immortal. There are other heritages I could have chosen, but in my head, he's immortal, so I have to use that. A mortal, not immortal, to clarify. Oh, I passed the mortal. This is the mortal. Mortals. They're mortals, they're humans. That's really all they are. I kind of have my look down. Mortals can have awesome colored hair in Highcaster. If you want a lavender-haired mortal, you can have one. You can have a light blue-skinned mortal if you want. Pale pink. I mean, I don't know, kind of like My Hero Academia looking. But yeah, whatever you want to do. The skin is very variable for mortals, and the hair and the eyes. All right, so I need to choose an ability. It's the only thing I have to do in the heritage. So my options are adaptable, which means I get a talent die whenever I have to confront a threat as a result of the natural elements. Now, we've already dealt with Julius. He's not really good about natural elements. I mean, he might be immortal, but he's, I don't know, doesn't like to get rained on. So that's probably out. Builder, you get a talent die whenever you need to build something, like a form of shelter. No, not him. Mortal voice. He is a talker. You get a talent die when you attempt to mimic a vocal sound from another creature to confront a threat. This is interesting. And the reason that's in there is because the mortals are very adaptable and they can do things with their voice that other creatures can't. And if you'll notice, these are all kind of like physical qualities, not cultural ones. So they are good with thumbs, so they can build things. They are adaptable. They've evolved into being able to adapt, and they have the uncanny ability to mimic. So we'll do mortal voice for Mr. Lorado. So the mortal ability is... did I choose it right? All right, something weird with the formula I'm going to have to fix. But if this was correct, I would be able to choose it here. But I'll fix that. He doesn't have teeth. That's just wrong. All right. Well, he does have teeth, but he doesn't have, like, gnashy teeth. All right, Scoppler talent. So we know he's a Scoppler. This is really it for heritage. Path is Scoppler. So Scopplers. Path of the storyteller. They are the historians. That's what he is. Musicians, humorists, satirists. The creed of the path. So creeds are they're sort of like guiding lights for the path. They're not laws. In other words, you as your character will probably deviate from their creed, but the creed gives you a guiding star on what your path considers the right thing to do. So they are sort of like a moral compass. So for a Scoppler, an honorable Scoppler will use their talents to serve society. Speak the truth speak the truth within their art. In the case of Julius, that means he's always going to be strive to be truthful with his history and his chronicles. Now, that was why he got in the spat with the other chronicler, because that chronicler was not being truthful, going against the creed of the Scoppler. Educate as well as entertain. So you don't just create fluff, create substance. So those are that would be his path. Since he's Hydoni, the Scopplers, there's a list of how they are handled in different cultures. The Scopplers in Haydn serve the imperial court as advisors and entertainers of Mystera, and they are called courtsmiths. Now, we know that Julius was exiled from Haydn, so it is a good chance, though, that he did work in the court advising Mystera. So that's a very, very likely scenario. So that's good to know. Background. I have to answer these. Okay. What is your talent and how does it translate into your role as cultural advisor and entertainer? His talent is chronicling. In other words, learning about history and then writing about it is what he does. He's a historian. Who nurtured this talent and what is their significance to you? Now, this is interesting because I'm going to start taking notes. I did not bring a pen in here, so I will have to take mental notes. Okay, who nurtured this talent? Well, I think his talent was nurtured by his father, who was a chronicler before him. Let's say that his father is still alive and probably very, very disappointed and elderly. So yeah, his father. And I think that Julius really looked up to his father and was always trying to compete with it. Let's say his father, we will call him, oh, I do have a pen. We will call him Tenorus Lorado, was a very famous chronicler. And probably, let's say Tenorus served Mystera directly and was an advisor. And so Julius was brought up in that tradition that he needed to also get to the court, be a courtsmith with Mystera. So Tenorus is there, and Tenorus is still alive and aging, and Julius is exiled from Haydn. So I'm sure there's going to be some fun tension there. Who in your past pushed you to your limit to become who you are? Now, that can't be Tenorus for a couple of reasons. One, we need more story. And two, obviously Tenorus didn't push him to be who he was. He's different. He has burned down libraries and is now, as we speak, helping heroes from the Whitlands uncover some secrets about the gods, right? So this is he's more adventurer. He may not admit it, but yeah, he's adventurous. He's been waylaid by bandits. He's been accidentally conjuring things. He's kind of reckless, actually, from what we know about him based on the stories that we've told in actual plays and in the book. So let's say that his past push is limited to become who we are. I think this will be I I think this will be a partner trying to decide. Yeah, I think he had a lover. We'll name him Andu. Andu was a scoffler who brought out the adventurous side of Julius. It kind of broke through, helped him break free from his father's grasp. And while he valued, well, he loves history, so that was no problem. While he values history and the work, he didn't value this sort of court smith persona that his father expected of him. I mean, he really wanted to write the truth about history, the truth about the gods. And so Andu and him had a long relationship, and he really pushed Brentwood. I call him Brentwood because it was his name at one point, but I think it might be his nickname. But he really pushed Julius to break out of his boundaries, to be uncomfortable, and to focus on the truth. So Andu. Now, I think I need to decide if Andu's still around. I think he is. I think Andu is still around in Haydn, and maybe they write to each other. But obviously, since the exile, that's all they can do. I also am not sure, how long term Julius thought this was, but maybe they were together for a few years, and so he keeps writing. Maybe they miss each other. Maybe that'll come up. Okay. Who in your past is your personal lifelong rival? Oh, we already know this. This is Connor Weldon, I think his name is. I'll have to double check in the actual play. But this is the other chronicler that is known in Haydn who was lying about history or telling disinformation, and that is the one that Julius went after, burned down his library. So we already established that. What social injustice drove you into service as a scoffler, and what do you hope to change about society? Social and that's interesting that it's phrased this way, because I think he was brought in because of his father, but the being compelled to uncover the truth of history, let's say that's what we're talking about. What drove him to do that? He, like most of those in Haydn, believed that they were direct descendants from the great Highcaster Empire. But when he, in his learnings, uncovered the truth of it, that really it was the traditions that were carried on, but all of the true scale and grandeur of the old empire long gone and never to return. That's when he got jaded. He believed at that point that history was propaganda to make you feel good about being a Haidoni. So in his case, he rejected that. And that is what he's trying to bring to society, the truth of things, the truth of history. So he wants the truth. He really is driven by that. So what other talents do you have? I think he is really good at bullshitting. Like, he's really good at it. Not in that telling, well, I should caveat, because he's about the truth of history, but by any means necessary. Like, I don't know that he's truthful as a person. He's interested in the truth of history, and he will do whatever it takes to get to that truth, including bullshitting. And we've already seen this in him with some of the actual plays, where he just sort of like talks around and around and around and around to drive somebody to do something he wants them to do. So it can be manipulative. And so we'll call that a talent. All right, what else we have? Those are the questions for the background. Okay, belongings. Name 3 items that are always on his person. We've already named 2 of these, quill and I think he has parchments, but I think he has like a bound blank book, animal skin book that he can write in, and he probably has a stash of them, but he always has at least one of these books with him, and that's his journal. That's where he keeps his notes. His most prized possession, his notes, his library, and not his collection of books, but his personal collection of writings, like his notes, because he tries to understand history. He interviews people. He tries to be a primary he tries to get a primary source whenever possible, and that's a lot of what his journeys are about, is finding people to talk to them. And so his notes are the most important thing to him. And then he'll write the books from those notes. The books that he writes, he doesn't care about as much, but the notes he does. All right, describe your home. In the place you'll return when your work is complete. Well, his home is in his father's manor in Haydn, and it's this beautiful, lavish place that has a colonnade and like a reflection pool, and has food everywhere. It's beautiful, probably a waterfall and everything else. But he hasn't been there in years. His home right now is in Darwish, and there is a war going on right now between Haydn and the Darwish at Bregden. And so he is actually sort of in a war zone. By the way, all of this that I'm spouting out is from actual plays. This is not lore in the book. You will take Highcaster and make it what you want. You make it your game, your setting, your people. But I have a lot going on here in my version of Highcaster, which is canon to me, and that's what you're hearing. These are from all actual plays that you can watch and catch up on. But that's why I wanted to do Julius, because he already has so much history. But anyway, there's a war going on. And so he's living in a war zone. But when he's done with his work, hopefully he can go back to Haydn, live in his manor, which I don't think he would want to. Maybe he would. Describe your family. We discussed that. Loved ones. We discussed that. Yeah. So I think well, does he have siblings? I think he probably does. Let's give him a sister named. I should have the Haydn table, but I'm just going to come up with one. Let's call her Ray. No, that's too Star Wars. Reyna. Her sister Reyna Lorado. She is also a courtsmith. So she's doing her dad's work as well. Okay. And describe the person to which you owe your success. And I think that has to be Miss Dara, the Empress. She accepted him and banished him, but she accepted him. And that's why he's successable. Probably an awkward relationship right now, but maybe we'll get to explore that in our game. Relationships. So we don't have any other heroes in this game. This is a solo play game, so we'll skip that. Path talent. I get a talent die. I can give a talent die to another character whenever I do something to inspire them. So now this is interesting in solo play. I'm going to have to adapt this and say I can take a talent die if I'm inspiring somebody in order to confront a conflict, which is basically the same move, but it's just a little bit more specific since there aren't any other characters. So if I'm trying to inspire somebody in order to confront a conflict or a threat, then I get a talent die. And my disciplines are Cantor. I can recount a legend or poem or historical fact that will assist in the situation. Oraton, which is my wit or words to change somebody's mind. And then player. Discipline of performance is to perform an instrument, dance, or sing to affect a situation. So I think he plays. What instrument does he play? Or does he sing? He does not dance. He sings. He sings beautiful poems. And he does that because as a historian, that helps him remember stories. And so he sings. And he knows ballads from all over, from cultures all over. Okay. So we have his path figured out, and all this is sort of automated in the system here. So I will put these notes in there. Path is good. Now we look at feats. So, this is tricky. You have to decide on a feat. What is feat? affluent. I always seem to have what I need. I'm not going to use that because he's going to be in the wilderness, I think, a lot. Blessed always has a way out of trouble. That means I get 2 favor in each session. Interesting. With solo play, favor is going to be a little tricky. The rules will say that I can use favor as intended in the game, but I'm also running the game, so I'm not sure how useful that would be, actually. Courageous, not that. Driven, nah. Favored means someone is always looking out for you. Probably not. Fortunate, I can re-roll the d20 whenever it lands on 1. Interesting. Not a healer. Inspirational, intimidating, leader, I'm not even reading them. It's like, is this him? Learned, yes. You are well educated and know far more than most about the world. Once per session, your character may know something about the world that will help their situation. You may choose to introduce a truth if it is not about an existing threat, or ask the chronicler to reveal a truth. I think that would fit with him, except again, there's going to be a lot of, since it's solo play, there's going to be a lot of shared narrative murkiness, and I'm not sure how much of a boon that would be. I mean, I can use it, but let's keep looking. Prestigious, extraordinary status and presence. I can spend favor to immediately negate harm to the prestige humor. That is an interesting one. I could see that working. Relentless, resolute, skilled, soothing, strong-willed, suave. You are well-loved and charming. I'm not sure he's well-loved. Definitely not tactical. Tenacious, trained, virtuous, or witnessed. Okay, I think it's prestigious. That's my feat. So that means I can exhibit extraordinary status and presence, and I spend favor to immediately negate harm to the prestige humor. That sounds good. Let's do that. Prestigious. There we go. Cool. So that's it for feats. And then, these are the game rules. Solo play will has its own section in here, which we'll see here. Because this is a solo play about Julius Lorado, I will go ahead and look at the introduction that he wrote in a chronicle somewhere that was pulled fictionally into Highcaster, introducing the solo play section. Hopefully it's a good one. I don't remember what I wrote. We'll find out as soon as I get to it. Lone Hero, that's the section. Okay, here we go. This humble chronicler has written by candlelight for many seasons, such that his hand has clenched for the rest of his days. Countless manuscripts with countless sheepskin and countless vials of ink. And within those pages are words of war, words of peace, tales of great people, tales of monstrous people. But no matter what the pages reveal from my ages of studying this realm, there is always one truth that persists throughout it all. The current of history exists no matter who is in it. But it is the individual that alters the current. Legends are made because people are extraordinary. Mythology persists because people become bigger than themselves and their realms. One cannot predict what individual will rise beyond the current of history and time to become the subject of tales told for generations. But they exist among us. No matter what cultures they were born into, or what heritage they held, or what path they chose, they rise to greatness beyond comprehension. I believe that people can be great, and I believe that people can waste or forsake their greatness. I only hope that there are enough in the river of history to divert the tide from our own self-destruction. Hydoni Chronicler Julius Lorado. All right. Well, I didn't actually look to see if anybody was talking to me, so I'm sorry if you were. I will go back and check. But that is session 0. We're set. We have a character, and then the next session we will begin play. So that's it for now.